Daniel Malik had spent most of his life chasing success. He worked days, nights, weekends, anything to build the empire he dreamed of. He owned companies, invested in properties, and signed deals worth millions. Everyone admired him. People called him a genius, a leader, a man who could turn anything into gold. But no one ever asked him what he had lost on the way. It was 3 a.m. when Daniel finally reached home that night. His private driver had dropped him off at the gate, and the rest of the journey he walked alone, exhausted. The house was huge, quiet, and dark, just the way it always was whenever he returned late. He expected to find everyone asleep. After all, who would be awake at such an hour? But the moment he stepped inside, something felt wrong. There was light coming from the kitchen. Daniel frowned. The nanny was supposed to leave by 8 p.m. His wife usually slept early because of her medication. And both children were young, too young to be walking around so late. Confused, Daniel placed his briefcase down and quietly moved toward the kitchen. As he got closer, he heard something, small, shaky cries. Not loud, not sharp, but the kind that came from a baby who was trying not to scream. His heartbeat quickened. He pushed the kitchen door gently, and what he saw made him freeze where he stood. His 10-year-old daughter, Lily, was standing on a stool in front of the stove, holding a pan that was far too big for her tiny hands. Her baby brother was strapped to her back with a long blue cloth, crying loudly and pulling at her dress. The kitchen around her was a complete mess, plates on the floor, spilled soup dripping off the counter, toys mixed with food crumbs, broken bowls near her feet. Lily looked exhausted. Her eyes were red as if she had cried earlier. Her hair was tied in a messy ponytail, and she was still wearing her school uniform from the morning. She looked like a child who had been fighting a long, tiring battle all alone. Daniel stood at the door, shocked, unable to believe that this scene was happening in his own home. "Lily," he said softly. Startled, Lily almost dropped the pan. She turned quickly, eyes wide with fear and embarrassment. "Dad? You are home." Daniel stepped inside slowly, his eyes never leaving her face. He felt something twist painfully inside him. He had not seen Lily this close in days. Maybe weeks. Work had kept him away so much that he barely remembered the last time he saw her awake. "What are you doing?" he asked gently. Lily looked down, her lips trembling. He was crying, he was hungry. "I tried to warm the food." Daniel looked around the kitchen again. The broken plates. The spilled food. The tired child trying to be a parent. The crying baby who needed comfort. Everything felt like a punch to his chest. "Where is the nanny?" Daniel asked quietly. "She went home." "And your mom?" "She is sleeping. The medicine makes her very tired." Daniel slowly walked to his daughter. He noticed small burns on her fingers, little cuts on her hands, and dark circles under her eyes. She looked like she had not slept properly in days. "Lily," he said softly, "why did you not wake someone up? Why did you not call me?" Lily swallowed, blinking away tears. "I did not want to disturb you. You are always busy, Dad. You work so hard. I did not want you to worry about us." Those words hit Daniel harder than anything he had heard in his life. A child should never think like that. A child should never feel like a burden. A child should never have to take care of a household at 3 a.m. He took the pan gently from her hands and turned off the stove. Then he lifted the crying baby from her back. The baby clung to him immediately, still sobbing softly. Daniel held him close, his heart breaking into pieces. "Come here," he whispered to Lily. She walked to him slowly, unsure what was wrong. Daniel knelt, bringing himself to her height, and placed a hand on her cheek. "I am so sorry you had to do this alone." Lily shook her head quickly. "No, Dad. I am okay. Really. I just wanted him to stop crying. Daniel could feel her trying to act strong. Trying to be brave. Trying to hide how tired she was. He realized something painful and true. He had built a big house but forgotten to build a home. He had given his children everything money could buy, except his time, his attention, and his presence. As he held both children close to him, Daniel knew something had to change. He could not keep living like this, successful in the world, but a stranger to his own family. And he had no idea that this night was only the beginning of what he was about to learn. Daniel carried the baby gently, rocking him in his arms as Lily stood in front of him, her fingers twisting nervously. The kitchen light flickered softly above them, casting long shadows across the messy floor. For a moment, Daniel did not say anything. He just breathed slowly, trying to calm the crying child, and trying to calm himself. He could not understand how all of this had been happening without him knowing. The nights he spent in hotels and offices. Lily had spent those same nights awake, carrying a responsibility far too big for her small shoulders. When the baby finally stopped crying and began hiccuping softly against Daniel's chest, he turned to Lily. "Sit with me," he said. Lily nodded and walked to the small breakfast table. She climbed onto a chair, pulling her legs up under her dress, as if trying to make herself smaller. Daniel sat across from her, still holding the baby close. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. The silence felt heavy, heavy with all the things Daniel should have noticed before. Finally, he cleared his throat gently. "Lily, how long have you been doing this?" She hesitated, eyes looking everywhere but at him. Her voice came out small. "I do not know, a few weeks, maybe more." Daniel's heart dropped. "A few weeks," he repeated softly, almost in disbelief. She nodded slowly. "Sometimes he wakes up crying. Sometimes he is hungry. Sometimes the nanny leaves food on the stove, but it gets cold or burned. And Mama sleeps a lot now. The medicine makes her very, very tired. So I just do it myself." Her voice tried to sound confident, but it trembled with every word. Daniel felt guilt settle like a weight on his chest. He had hired a nanny so that his children would never struggle. He had thought he was doing the right thing. But the truth was lying right in front of him, in the form of a little girl who had been carrying the whole house on her back. "Has this happened every night?" Daniel asked softly. "Not every night," Lily whispered. "But many nights." Daniel swallowed hard. "And you never told anyone?" Lily finally looked up, her eyes shiny with tears she was trying so hard to hide. "I did not want to trouble anyone." That sentence broke him more than anything else. Children are supposed to ask for help. Children are supposed to wake their parents when they are scared. Children are supposed to be taken care of, not the other way around. Daniel leaned forward and gently placed his hand over hers. Her fingers were tiny, shaking, with small burns on her skin, marks of the nights she spent struggling with hot pans and boiling pots. "Lily," he said softly, "you are just a child. You should not be doing any of this. This is not your job. This is not your responsibility." Lily bit her lip. "But someone had to do it, Dad." Daniel felt his throat tighten. Her voice was not angry, not complaining. It was simply honest. Honest in a way that only a tired child could be. "Did the nanny know you were doing all this?" he asked. Lily nodded again. "She said I am a big girl. She said I should help." Daniel's jaw tightened. That was not help. That was neglect. He took a deep breath, steadying himself before he said anything he would regret. "Lily, why did you not wake me up? Why did you not call me?" This time, Lily took longer to respond. Her hands clenched together. Her voice was barely a whisper. "Because you are already tired, Dad. You work all day. You come home late. You look stressed. I I did not want to make things harder for you. Daniel felt the sting of those words deep in his chest. He had spent all these years believing he was providing the best life for his children by working harder and harder. But here was the truth. His daughter thought she was a burden. He leaned closer, lowering his voice. You are never, never, a burden to me. Lily blinked quickly, as if she was not used to hearing such words. Daniel continued, no matter how tired I am, no matter how late it is, you are my daughter. You can always come to me. Lily looked down again. I did not want to disappoint you. Daniel felt something inside him crack open. Disappoint me? Sweetheart, you could never disappoint me. You are the bravest girl I know. Her shoulders relaxed a little, but the exhaustion on her face told the bigger story. The dark circles under her eyes, the way her body seemed too heavy for her age, the small burns on her hands, everything showed how long she had been struggling in silence. Daniel took a deep breath and stood up. Come on, he said gently. Let us clean up this kitchen together. Lily blinked. Together? Yes, he said, giving her a soft smile. I should have been doing that all along. She slowly smiled back, tired, but relieved. Daniel cleaned the spilled soup, picked up broken pieces of plates, and wiped the counter while Lily helped fold towels and gather toys. They worked side by side, something they had not done in a very long time. And in that simple moment, Daniel understood something he had forgotten. Children do not need a millionaire. They need a father. That night, he promised himself one thing. He would no longer be missing from his own home. Tomorrow, he would learn why Lily had also been skipping school. And that truth would break him even more. When they finally finished cleaning the kitchen, the clock on the wall showed 4:07 a.m. The house was quiet again, but Daniel felt a storm inside him. His daughter looked so small sitting on the couch, hugging her knees, trying not to fall asleep. Daniel gently placed the baby, now peacefully sleeping, into the crib. Then he sat beside Lily, letting the silence settle for a moment. Lily, he began softly, I want you to tell me something, and I want you to be completely honest. She lifted her tired eyes toward him, unsure of what he was going to say. He took a deep breath. Your teacher called last week. She said you had been missing school. Not once or twice, but many days. Why, Lily? Why did you not go to school? Lily froze. Her small fingers pressed harder against her knees. She looked down instantly, her voice trapped somewhere inside her. Daniel waited patiently. Then, in the quietest voice, she whispered, because I am too tired, Dad. Daniel blinked, feeling a cold heaviness press against his heart. Tired? Because of the baby? Lily nodded slowly. Sometimes I sleep at 5 a.m. Sometimes even later. When he cries, I cannot leave him alone. Mama is asleep. The nanny leaves early. And I just stay awake. When the sun comes up, I try to get ready, but I feel dizzy. My eyes hurt. I cannot keep my head up. So I stay in bed. And then I miss school. Daniel ran a hand through his hair, stunned. How many times has this happened? Lily's voice trembled. Maybe 10. Or more. 10 days. A 10-year-old missing 10 days of school because she was taking care of a baby at night. Daniel felt embarrassment, sadness, and guilt all mixing together inside him. But why did you not tell your teacher you were tired because you were helping at home? Daniel asked softly. I could not, Lily said quickly, shaking her head. Children are not supposed to do all that. I did not want my friends to laugh at me, or think I live in a messy house, or that I am not taken care of. She swallowed hard. And I did not want you or Mama to get in trouble. Daniel's chest tightened again. This little girl was protecting everyone except herself. He gently took her small hands. Lily, missing school is serious. Your education matters. Her eyes filled with tears she did not let fall. I know, Dad, but I cannot stay awake in class. I try, but the teacher says I look sleepy. And then I feel embarrassed. So I pretend to have a stomachache, or I tell them I am sick. Daniel felt the truth hit him like a sharp wind. She was not skipping school because she was lazy. She was skipping school because she was exhausted. Because she was taking responsibility no child should have to take. He moved closer and wrapped his arm around her. She leaned into him instantly, like a child finally letting herself be held after holding everything together for too long. You should have never had to deal with all this alone, he said gently. Lily closed her eyes. I just wanted the house to stay peaceful. You work so much, Dad. You help so many people. And Mama is not well. I did not want to make things harder. Daniel felt himself breathe shakily. You are a child, Lily. You should not be worried about any of that. She looked up at him, confused. But who else was going to help? Daniel felt those words cut deep. She had asked an honest question, one he had no excuse for. Where was he? Running companies. Signing deals. Building projects. But not building memories with his children. Not protecting their childhood. He gently brushed a tear off Lily's cheek. You have been so strong, but you do not have to be strong like this. She finally let a tear fall, then another. She leaned closer into his chest, and he held her tighter. From now on, Daniel whispered, you will not stay awake at night. You will not cook. You will not carry your brother around. You will not do anything that hurts your childhood. I promise you. Lily's little voice murmured, but what if he cries? I will take care of it, Daniel said firmly. I will make sure someone is here. I will make sure Mama gets the help she needs. And I will make time for both of you. Real time. Lily let out a soft breath, like she had been holding that air inside for weeks. Daniel felt her relax slightly, trusting his words. He looked around the quiet house, his expensive home that suddenly felt very empty, and wondered how many nights of Lily's childhood he had missed. How many moments he could never get back. But one thing he knew for sure. He was not going to miss another one. He lifted Lily gently in his arms and said, let us go sleep now. Tomorrow, everything changes. She nodded slowly, resting her head on his shoulder. And for the first time in a long time, Daniel felt like a father again. Daniel woke up the next morning with a feeling he had not experienced in years, an ache in his heart that would not go away. He had slept lightly, constantly checking on Lily and the baby, even though both were safe beside him on the same large bed. The moment he opened his eyes, he saw Lily curled up like a tiny kitten, finally sleeping peacefully without fear of missing alarms or baby cries. He watched her for a long moment. This was what childhood was supposed to look like. Not sleepless nights. Not burned fingers. Not carrying responsibilities meant for adults. For the first time in a long time, Daniel realized how distant he had become from the life inside his own home. He slipped out of bed carefully so he would not wake them. In the kitchen, sunlight filtered through the windows, revealing the cleaned counters from last night. Daniel stood there, remembering how he found Lily struggling to cook at 3 a.m. The image burned inside him. He took a deep breath. Enough was enough. He picked up his phone and dialed a number he had ignored for too long, his office. Sir, your 9 a.m. meeting, the assistant began. Cancel everything, Daniel said calmly. Everything, sir. Yes. Everything. I am taking 2 weeks off. There was a long silence. No one in his company had ever heard him say those words. Daniel was known as the man who never took breaks, never got sick, never stepped back from work. But today, his children were more important than every business he had ever built. He ended the call and immediately called the nanny next. She answered with a casual tone, "Good morning, sir." "You're fired," Daniel said simply. A gasp came from the other end. "Yes, sir. May I ask?" "No," Daniel replied firmly. "Do not come back. I will arrange your payment. That will be all." He did not raise his voice. He did not insult her. But a line had been crossed, and he would never allow anyone to place duties on Lily that were not hers. After the calls, Daniel stood silently for a moment, feeling something shift inside him. This was not guilt anymore, this was responsibility returning to him, finally, after being lost in the noise of money and success. He began making breakfast. He burned the first toast, overcooked the eggs, and made a mess with the milk. But he kept trying until he got it right. He wanted Lily to wake up to the smell of a meal she did not cook herself. As he cooked, he realized something simple but powerful. Children grow quietly. And adults often notice only when it is too late. He refused to be late again. Around 9 a.m., Lily walked into the kitchen, rubbing her eyes. She looked confused when she saw her father standing over the stove in an apron, hair messy, holding a spatula like it was a tool he had never touched before. "Dad," she whispered. He turned toward her with a warm smile. "Good morning, sweetheart. Breakfast is ready." Lily blinked slowly, as if she was dreaming. "You made it?" "Yes," he said proudly. "And it is not burned, mostly." She giggled softly for the first time in days. The sound was small but beautiful. Daniel felt something warm spread in his chest. "Come sit," he said, pulling out a chair for her. Lily sat down, watching him with curious eyes. "Where is the nanny?" "Gone," Daniel said simply. Lily froze. "Did she get in trouble because of me?" Daniel shook his head. "No, Lily. She got in trouble because she did not do her job. You did nothing wrong." Lily relaxed slightly, taking a bite of the warm toast. Her eyes widened. "Dad, this tastes good." Daniel laughed softly. "Thank you. It took 5 tries." She smiled again, and for a moment, it felt like they were starting over, building something new, something real. As Lily ate, Daniel sat across from her. "After breakfast, we will go to school." Lily looked down quickly. "Dad. I am behind in homework. And I am scared the teacher will ask why I missed so many days." Daniel reached for her hand gently. "I will come with you. We will talk to your teacher together. You do not have to face anything alone." Lily's eyes softened. "Really?" "Yes," he said firmly. "I am here now." Those words carried weight Daniel was finally ready to hold. Later that morning, they reached the school. Parents rushed in with their children, teachers greeted students with warm smiles. Daniel felt out of place, he could not even remember the last time he brought Lily to school. Lily held his hand tightly, leaning closer when they entered her classroom. Her teacher, Mrs. Hart, looked surprised to see Daniel standing there. "Mr. Malik," she said softly. "It has been a long time." Daniel nodded. "We need to talk." They stepped aside, and Daniel explained everything: Lily's sleepless nights, the baby crying, the nanny leaving early, the mother's medication, the exhaustion Lily had been hiding behind forced smiles. Mrs. Hart listened with empathy and concern. "Lily is a bright child," she said warmly. "She just needs rest and stability." Daniel nodded, feeling relief and guilt mixing again. "She will get both," he promised. When Lily walked into class, Mrs. Hart placed a gentle hand on her shoulder. "We are happy to have you back, Lily." For the first time in weeks, Lily smiled without forcing it. Daniel watched her take her seat, and something inside him shifted. This was where she belonged. Not in a kitchen at 3 a.m. Not carrying a baby all night. not hiding her exhaustion. She belonged in a classroom. Learning. Laughing. Living a childhood. As he walked out of the school building, Daniel made a silent vow. He would rebuild his family. One day at a time. The next few days felt strangely new for Daniel, new in a way he had never experienced, even with all the success he had achieved. For years, he had measured his life by the deals he closed, the money he earned, and the respect he commanded. But now, his days began with something much simpler and far more meaningful, waking up his children himself. Every morning, he gently knocked on Lily's door with a smile instead of returning home past midnight. He made breakfast, sometimes too salty, sometimes too sweet, but it made Lily laugh, and that alone felt like victory. The baby, too, seemed calmer, as if he could sense the change in the home. Daniel spent more time sitting on the floor, building blocks with his son, and more time listening to Lily talk about school, something he once believed he did not have time for. He realized how many years he had lost simply by not being present. One evening, after school, Lily sat at the dining table finishing homework. Daniel watched from across the room, feeling a quiet happiness he had forgotten existed. Her eyes, once tired and dull, now looked bright again. Her face looked relaxed, not weighed down by responsibilities beyond her age. "Dad," Lily said, looking up from her notebook, "my teacher said I did good today." Daniel smiled warmly. "Of course you did. You always do." She giggled softly. "Not always." "Well," he said, moving closer, "you do now." He tousled her hair gently. Lily leaned into his hand, and Daniel felt his chest tighten with emotion. It had been so long since they shared such small, precious moments. But rebuilding a family required more than just spending time together, it required healing things that had been broken. That night, after tucking the baby into bed, Daniel sat with his wife in the living room. She had been quiet lately, weighed down by medication, stress, and the guilt of not being able to help more. She looked up as he entered. "You are home early again." "Yes," he said softly. "I plan to stay home earlier every day." She blinked, surprised. "Everything okay at work?" "Work is fine," he said simply. "But things here needed me more." Her eyes dropped to the table. She had been feeling like a burden, like her illness had made her disappear from her own family. But Daniel reached for her hand gently. "I am sorry," he whispered. "I should have been here. I should have noticed. You were fighting alone, and Lily, she carried more than she should have." Tears formed in her eyes. "I did not mean for her to take over. Some days I cannot even get out of bed." "I know," Daniel said softly. "And it is not your fault. We will get through this together." The weight in the room slowly lifted, replaced by quiet understanding. For the first time in months, his wife reached out and leaned against him, and Daniel held her close. The next morning, Daniel hired a professional caregiver, a trained, gentle woman with good recommendations who knew how to handle young children and support families with medical needs. Unlike the previous nanny, she had a warm, patient personality that made Lily smile instantly. "This is Mrs. Hale," Daniel introduced. "She will help us. Not replace anyone, just help." Lily looked up at him hopefully. "So, I do not have to stay awake anymore?" Daniel shook his head. "Never again." Mrs. Hale knelt to Lily's level. "Your only job is to study, play, and enjoy being a child. I will take care of the rest." Lily's shoulders relaxed as if someone had lifted an invisible weight from her. Over the next week, the change in the house was remarkable. Mornings were calmer. Evenings were warmer. Laughter returned to rooms that once felt cold and empty. Daniel spent afternoons reading books with Lily or playing simple games with her. Sometimes they cooked together, not because she needed to, but because she wanted to learn. His wife, with the caregiver's help, began recovering slowly, gaining energy and confidence again. The baby, too, grew happier, no longer crying in the middle of the night for hours. He now slept within minutes when held gently by Mrs. Hale or Daniel. One evening, Lily came running to Daniel with a certificate she received at school. "Dad! I got Student of the Week." Daniel lifted her in his arms. "I am so proud of you." She laughed, wrapping her arms around his neck. "I could not have done it without you." But Daniel shook his head. "No, Lily. You have always been strong. I just finally showed up." Her eyes softened. "I like it better now. When you are home. When we all eat together. When the house feels happy." Daniel kissed her forehead. "It will stay that way." He meant every word. Later that night, after the children slept, Daniel stood outside on the balcony. He looked up at the stars, thinking of the man he used to be, driven, ambitious, unstoppable, yet blind to what truly mattered. He realized something important. A house becomes a home not through money, but through presence. A child becomes confident not through luxury, but through love. And a father becomes complete not through success, but through connection. For the first time in years, Daniel felt peace, not from wealth, but from knowing he was finally the father his children needed. But one moment was still waiting. A moment that would change everything for him. Tomorrow, he would finally understand the deepest lesson of all. A few weeks passed, and the house slowly transformed into something warm and alive. The air no longer carried the heaviness of exhaustion or silence. Instead, laughter echoed in the hallways, toys lay scattered across the living room, and the smell of homemade food drifted through the kitchen in the evenings. Daniel had become a different man, someone who no longer rushed through life but actually lived inside it. One evening, after helping Lily with a school project, he stepped outside to check on the baby. The little boy was playing happily on the carpet with colorful blocks while Mrs. Hale, calm, patient, and gentle, watched over him. Daniel leaned against the doorframe, arms folded, quietly watching his children. There was a time not too long ago when he walked into rooms like a stranger. But now, his presence was a familiar comfort. That alone made all the difference. A moment later, Lily ran into the living room, holding a piece of artwork she made at school. "Dad, look! I drew our family." Daniel knelt down to her level, smiling. "Let me see." On the paper was a simple drawing, 3 figures holding hands. A tall man, a small girl, and a baby. Above them, she had written in shaky, colorful letters. "My family, together." Daniel felt something tug deep inside his chest. "This is beautiful," he whispered. Lily beamed. "It is the new us." He blinked slowly. The new us. Yes. That was exactly what they had become. But the moment that changed everything happened the next morning. It was Saturday, a day Daniel once filled with meetings and office calls. But now, it belonged to his children. He had promised Lily they would walk to the nearby park. She had been excited all week. Just as they were about to leave, Lily tugged at his sleeve. "Dad, can you come to my room? I want to show you something." "Of course," he said, following her. Her room was neat and bright, decorated with drawings taped on the walls. She walked to her small wooden desk, opened a drawer, and pulled out a box. It was old, a little scratched on the edges. Daniel sat on the bed as she placed it in his lap. "What is this?" "I made it," she said proudly. "For you." He opened the box slowly. Inside were tiny drawings, folded notes, little crafts she had made over the years. Some paper edges were wrinkled. Some colors had faded. But every piece held emotion. There were drawings of her and her baby brother. Drawings of her and her mother. And drawings of her and him. Except, they all looked the same. In each drawing, Daniel was standing far away. In some drawings, he was holding a phone. In others, he was leaving the house. In one, Lily had drawn herself crying as he walked out the door. Daniel felt his breath catch. "Lily, why did you save all this?" "Because," she said quietly, sitting beside him, "I always hoped one day I could give it to you. Just to show you what I felt. Not to make you sad, but to tell you that I wished you were here more." Her small voice broke something inside him that had been untouched for years. He looked at the drawings again, his heart aching. "Sweetheart. I am so sorry," he whispered. "You do not have to be sorry now," she said, leaning her head against his shoulder. "You are here. And I like the new you." Daniel wrapped his arm around her gently. "I promise," he said, his voice thick with emotion, "I will never go back to the old me." After a long moment, Lily smiled and stood. "Can we still go to the park?" Daniel wiped his eyes with a soft laugh. "Yes. Let us go." They spent the morning walking through green paths, feeding ducks, and laughing at the baby's attempts to catch butterflies. Daniel watched Lily run ahead, sunlight falling on her like she belonged to the world again, not to the quiet burden she once carried. Later, while sitting on a bench, Daniel watched families around him, parents pushing strollers, children shouting with joy, small hands pulling fathers toward swings. He realized something as he watched Lily chase a bird and giggle loudly. He had almost missed all of this. Not because he did not care, but because he did not look. And when you do not look, you do not see the small signs. The tired eyes. The quiet tears. The weight a child should never carry. That night, as they returned home and tucked into bed, Lily whispered, "Dad, thank you for changing." Daniel smiled softly. "Thank you for showing me how to." She wrapped her arms around him for a moment before sliding under her blanket. Watching her sleep peacefully, he felt a warmth deep in his heart, a warmth not even success had ever given him. He finally understood. Real success is not measured by money or status. Real success is being the person your family feels safe with. Being the person your children can rely on. Being present. Being a father. And Daniel Malik, once a millionaire lost in his own ambitions, finally learned the most important lesson of his life. A child's happiness is worth more than anything he could ever earn.